On April 21st, Framework unveiled a ton of new products and upgrades for their existing devices. And even though I'm pumped for the upgrades to the 16, since I personally own one, I want to start with the product I'm most excited for that I think will have the biggest impact on the industry. And that's the Framework 13 Pro. Being a hardware-focused repair shop owner, I'm going to mainly focus on the hardware changes in this video, which is why I made a beeline directly to the teardown station as soon as we were allowed to. But before I start listing off the specs, for the 3 of you watching this video that have no idea what Framework is, it's a computer company that builds non-disposable products where every device is designed to be a long-term investment that you'll keep running for a decade rather than replace in 3 years. That means modular parts and open documentation, allowing you to fix, upgrade, or customize every single component using only the screwdriver that's included in the box. And the Framework 13 Pro is not only, as the CEO Nirav Patel said,
the MacBook Pro for Linux users.
It's the closest they've come to making the perfect laptop. And I would have been able to take one home if it weren't for that meddling CEO. But anyways, this slab of modularity now has an Intel Panther Lake CPU, LPCAMM2 RAM, a 74 watt-hour battery that lasts for 20 hours during actual use, a haptic touchpad, and a one-of-a-kind 2.8K 120Hz touchscreen LCD panel that they spent over $1 million developing. But as someone who fixes things for a living, the new CNC'd aluminum unibody chassis made me more excited than everything else combined. Because this is what makes or breaks a laptop in the long term. Everyone knows the MacBook Pro is the standard for build quality when it comes to a laptop, but 99% of that premium feel really just comes down to the fact the entire chassis is milled from a single block of aluminum. That means no plastic hinge mounts that break after you fart too close to it. And I've complained before that every company that tries to copy Apple never copies its best features correctly. And one of its best is the true unibody chassis. Most laptops have a mix of plastic and aluminum for their chassis, which is like putting lipstick on a pig. Framework, however, did it the correct way by using a single block of 76% recycled aluminum that's thinner than my skull, but just as robust. And the results speak for themselves. Even with a keyboard removed, there's zero flex when holding it, and the hinges are sturdier than my liver. It's not all perfect though, because using this color aluminum with no anodization makes it a fingerprint magnet. And God forbid you ever scratch it, because that shit ain't coming out. Thankfully though, you can purchase it in silver if you think that's going to be a problem with you, or you can just grab silver parts separately if you'd like, since everything is replaceable. But I personally think the color does look pretty sick, especially combined with the different colored keyboard combinations, with the black and blue being my favorite, but black and red would be better. The keyboard itself has next to no flex, and it does feel nice and comfortable to type on. Just like this feels like a comfortable spot to introduce today's sponsor, Saily.
Saily is owned by the same company as NordVPN, and they provide eSIM service worldwide. And they're my lifeline when it comes to traveling. So we're going to Taiwan soon, going to Computex, and guess what I did, Lupe? That's right. I use Saily. So let me show you these plans here. So we're going to Taiwan on June 1st. For 12 bucks, we can get 5 gigabytes for 30 days. Saily is available in 200 countries. That's worldwide. And it's an eSIM service, which means you don't have to pop in a physical SIM anymore. You don't have to get scammed in the airport paying these absurd prices. You just download the app, it gives you a code, sends you an eSIM, you activate it, and you're good to go. No BS, and it only activates when you get to your country. So that means if I buy it now, it's gonna activate once I land in Taiwan. And better yet, it comes with a built-in ad blocker, and that saves you 28.6% of your data. So no more ads taking up all your precious data when you're trying to just download. And best of all, if you're planning on traveling to multiple countries in one trip, you don't have to download 1,000 different eSIMs. You just have that one eSIM, and you can just choose your plan depending on what country you're in. And it'll automatically activate as soon as you land and turn that phone off. Because your phone's on airplane mode, right? Check them out, Saily.com/Salem. Save 15% off, use my code, baby, Salem. I have a long way to go. Back to Salem.
Next up was the touchpad. So it's a haptic touchpad now that was engineered to match the industry standard performance and feel of the MacBook Pro. Because you can't argue that Apple has the best trackpad in the industry. But as for the framework, I didn't have enough time to decide whether I liked it or not, because I am kind of torn on haptic touchpads versus the mechanical ones. But that's just my opinion. Now, before I get into the new guts, I need to unscrew 5 captive screws, and this little push pin right here pops up the case, which is absolutely hilarious. Because when was the last time a laptop helped you disassemble it? It's these little things that I really like about Framework. Because you know whoever put this in there is so passionate about right to repair that this was a non-negotiable in the design. Anyways, underneath the top case is that new Panther Lake CPU sealed to a tiny heatsink using PTM 7958, which is apparently better than PTM 7950, which is something I personally use in my repair shop. The thermal sheet application was perfect, but due to the short hands-on time I had with the device, I wasn't able to actually test the thermals. That's something I really look forward to doing when I receive a review unit, because because I'm curious how this tiny air intake can sufficiently cool this workhorse under heavy loads. However, the biggest change under the hood is the fact that this uses LPCAMM2 RAM instead of the standard SODIMMs that we're all used to. Now, I'm torn on this one, and I'd love to hear what you guys think. On one hand, LPCAMM2 allows for upgradable LPDDR5 running at such high speeds and low power that it would otherwise require the chips to be soldered to the board, which is also why it's going to be the new standard for DDR6, assuming consumer RAM even exists when DDR6 comes out, because I mean, look at this industry. Framework implemented this by using a single module that sits on the motherboard similar to a desktop CPU. And even though there's only one, it runs in dual channel and the module and contact plate are replaceable. And I'm torn on this because on one hand, you can take advantage of high speeds, very low power usage, and save a buttload of space. But on the other hand, these modules are still fairly rare, super expensive, and you can no longer save money by just adding a single stick to upgrade your memory. You have to buy a single module that costs a lot more. I feel like a large reason Framework decided to implement this new standard now is because they really wanted to focus on battery life, especially because they upgraded the battery to 74 watt-hours, which was hands down the biggest complaint about this device. And now they claim it lasts 20 hours watching 4K porn Netflix videos, which they swear is an actual statistic and not just a manufacturer talking nonsense. So obviously this is a huge game changer compared to the previous 13, but unfortunately, because of the increased size of the battery and the cells, you can't just put this battery into the previous 13. You'll have to purchase the new top case and chassis. However, I'm not sure if the new chassis includes the new side-firing speakers. And it's hard for me to give my opinion on this because I think anything but top-firing speakers sounds like farts in a tin can. But what I can say is that the Dolby Atmos demo was actually super impressive, and you could hear the directional changes, which was pretty cool. The last thing to cover on the 13 Pro is the new display panel, which is a 2.8K variable 120Hz touchscreen LCD. I know, LCD. I too was hoping for an OLED, but considering their focus on battery life, I do understand why they went this way. And once you see it in person, it's not even a big deal, because this thing fucking slaps for an LCD. To put it in technical terms, it's bright as shit, has insanely good contrast and anti-glare, goes as low as 30 Hz, and the touchscreen itself is stupidly responsive. Speaking of Linux users, you'll be delighted to hear that this is Ubuntu certified, meaning you can grab it with Ubuntu preloaded. And jokes aside, this is a big fucking deal for Framework because it allows them to move beyond the enthusiast market and compete for high volume business contracts. Contracts that are dominated by Dell, Lenovo, and HP. And for corporate IT departments, it's great because they typically require hardware to be officially certified by OS vendors to ensure long-term stability and support. So now, this is no longer just a niche product for right-to-repair focused nerds like me and you. It's a product for everyone that wants to buy a powerful laptop that's built to last. As for price, you can snag the DIY for $1,200 with the Ultra 5 325, or just grab the pre-built with the same CPU starting at $1,500 for a 5, 12, and 16GB config. Honestly, not bad considering this will probably be the last laptop you'll ever own, and it's way cheaper than a MacBook Pro. As for the other things Framework announced at the event, you can grab an Oculink setup for the 16 that allows you to turn this already portable workstation into a desktop or full-blown gaming PC. And they finally found the one piece for their keyboard and their trackpad, meaning you don't have to deal with these side pieces cutting your arm hair off anymore. Last up is their wireless touchpad keyboard, which uses the same keyboard as the Framework 12. It's meant to replace the shitty Logitech keyboards that everyone uses for their living room PC. It has 4 wireless profiles, so you can use it with multiple devices, and of course, the firmware is open source. Now, if they market this thing correctly, which I hope they do, it's probably gonna be their highest selling product. But that's enough of the event. Let's get back for some final thoughts.
Today was a wonderful day because I know there's at least one company out there that's looking out for the consumer, and that calls for a celebration. So I went out of my way to spend my money on the finest adult beverage that I could find. Cheers. Delicious. So not only has Framework released new products, it's the simple fact that Framework is still releasing new products. When Framework came out, everybody was cautiously optimistic because Framework is competing in an industry where it is cutthroat. These billionaires don't give a shit about the consumer, they just want to make profit. And of course, Framework wants to make profit too, but their goal was always a right to repair first and right to ownership first. The consumer is going to own what they buy, and they're going to be able to upgrade what they buy for infinity. And many people doubted that because that model as a business probably is not too good. But today, they gave me hope Finally today, there was some good news. So let's celebrate. I can't drink this again. I hope Framework dominates the laptop industry. I hope they dominate every single industry because Framework is exactly what we need right now. It's what we needed 5 years ago. It's what we need now and 5 years from now. The fact that when we buy a device, we can upgrade that device as long as we want, and we own that fucking device. We own it. Nobody else owns it. Nobody else can lock us out and say, oh, you can't upgrade that anymore. Oh, this isn't supported anymore. That's the whole idea of Framework. And that's why I've been simping so hard for Framework since the very jump. That's why I recommend Framework for everybody. If anybody's looking for a computer, a gaming computer, get the Framework 16. A computer that you want to use every single day, get the 12 or the 13. And now that they're showing us, they're fucking serious, and we should support them. If you're like me and you're in the fortunate position where you can afford products that are priced a little higher than other products, use your money to support those companies that you want to support, the companies whose vision that you believe in. That's our responsibility right now, okay? Because people that can't afford it, they have an excuse. But for those of us that can afford these products, there's no excuse for us not to support companies like this, whose ideals that we actually stand behind, whose... Ooh, wow, that beverage is so good. The ideals that we believe in, the ones that we've been talking about all these years, it's time for us to put our money where our mouth is and support this company. And Framework has invested so much money, so much fucking money into doing what they're doing. It's time for us to start giving back. And that's why I am so proud. They didn't sponsor this video. They did not pay me a fucking cent for this video. They flew me out here and I'm staying in a hotel, but I'm doing this because I'm so passionate of what they believe in, that my mission and their mission align so well. I'm willing to come here and lose days of productivity when I have a completely full schedule because I want to support their product and because I think they deserve the exposure and for people to know just how genuine this company is. Every single person there was so passionate about what they've made, and I think we need to reward that. So this is me,
The greatest technician that's ever lived.
giving my endorsement 100% towards Framework. And for the love of God, if anybody asks what laptop they should buy, tell them they should buy a Framework. Seriously, just buy the fucking Framework. It's gonna be the last laptop you'll ever own. That's it. Also, the keyboard looks fucking cool. I mean, I'm using some dog shit keyboard from Amazon right now at my house. And you better believe I'm gonna snag that Framework keyboard as soon as it comes out. Just know that they're the real deal. And that this is, as ridiculous as this is, I'm dead fucking serious that like, Framework is the future and Framework is the company that I want to see dominate the entire industry. Because if they start giving the other companies competition, the other companies will have no choice but to compete in the same way in terms of upgradability, repairability, and just hiring people that actually fucking care about the consumer. So thank you for watching. I'm gonna go back to reading my book and enjoying my delicious beverage.